All right. Ooh, money, money, money.
The mindset behind it.
The mindset behind it. Look at this news. I love this.
You know what I mean? We're still feeling fresh. The Money Pro Tour is rolling on, and we want everyone to feel like they're pros with their money, don't we?
Yeah.
Masters with their money.
100%. Yeah, and it really does start with the mindset,
Totally.
So the first thing that I want to say is, and this might be a little radical thinking, right?
Throw it out there.
But for me, money mindset, when people think about it, there's this real attachment to having it be a particular way, right? Like you need an abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. Now, although that might be the case, what I want to at least have people be present to is that the mindset really is made up. Right, and I know that you have a couple examples that I'll let you dive into, but really, there's a way in which people communicate using language that will have their words either fit the world and how it occurs to them, or they will use their language and their words to create the world that they want to live into. So for me, when I look at my money mindset, first I got to get that there's something already there. Very similar to a previous episode around your relationship to money. I first got to get what is my money mindset, right? Growing up for me, I remember my parents always telling me that, asking me, what do you think money grows on trees? And so my mindset was, money doesn't grow on trees and there's not enough, right? That's just the mindset.
Sure.
And when I realized that that was just one reality for me, but not the reality, I really was able to create something new for myself, right? So one money mindset that I have is that money is absolutely everywhere, right? And that's something that I created and something that I'm empowered by and something that I'm literally speaking into existence, that money is everywhere.
Love it.
Look at this.
We're even wearing it, would you believe?
So what are your thoughts on
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, as you're sharing your story about money mindset, I think back to kind of my adolescence and my teenage years. And I think growing up in my household, if anything, my older brother, who's 7 years my senior, I got to see him purchasing real estate, starting a business, driving a nice car, living life in certain ways that as I was, 10, 11, 12 years old, those formative years, with that kind of role model of someone who's, 18, 19, 20 years old and financially savvy, putting money to work for him to create the life that he wanted. For me, I think I always kind of looked at money as a tool, something that I could use to put to work and allow it to create certain things in my life. And so as I was 14 years old, starting working as a grocery store bag boy, all the way up through being a bank teller at 18 and a financial advisor at 21. All through those years, I was thinking about how to put my money to work for me. I was looking at ways to save and earn higher interest. I was looking at real estate from a young age in my late teens. And so, I think that the money mindset in many ways is almost an attitude that we have internalized, and it's a perception that we have around something. And Nick, you probably heard that phrase. I think it was Henry Ford who said it, which is, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And so if you right now are listening and watching this and saying, I'm not good with money. I suck at saving. I will never buy a house. If you're saying that stuff to yourself, then it's true. But if you can change the language, the way you just said, right? Use your words and language to create the world. Hey, I'm still learning how to be better with my money. I'm on track towards home ownership, slow and steady. I'm still learning how to get out of debt and make smarter money decisions. Just by changing your language, that mindset, that money mindset, will permeate into your world in the actions that you're taking.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Now you had a couple examples prior to the show. You were sharing something that was really impactful, right? Like you said, money mindset is really an attitude, right? So you could get, people from vast experiences with vast backgrounds and, vast different childhoods and early memories. So
yeah, I mean, I think so. Right, in my years, I've worked with such a wide range of different people, backgrounds, income levels, and experiences. And think about this, right? Someone who might be growing up in a family or a neighborhood or a community or a household that money is a problem. It's a stress factor. There's not enough of it. They might look at someone who's living in a wealthy community, in a wealthy household, and say, "Oh man, they've got it all figured out. They're doing great, etc."
Yeah.
Well, I think what we really find out is that as adolescents, when you grow up in one of those two pools, you still have both paths ahead of you, failure and success, good stuff happening and bad stuff happening. Meaning you could grow up in a challenging neighborhood, a household that makes poor money decisions and isn't responsible and doesn't teach about that stuff. And from there, you kind of have a fork in the road, Nick, right? Like you could repeat the same mistakes because you haven't been exposed to the knowledge and the education. Or there's plenty of folks who I've met, and I'm sure some of our viewers and listeners will, if you agree to this, that you see what you don't want to happen. Mm-hmm. Like you live now in a way that you don't want to live in the future.
Sure.
And that changes your path. Now you take action to avoid that.
Yep.
So both paths can come out of a childhood that may not have had great money habits.
Right.
And then think about the flip side, right? Like a family that does have maybe an abundance of wealth. They travel a ton. They never argue about money. Well, a child, an adolescent growing up in that could potentially be spoiled, right? Like never learn about money. Never learn the value of a dollar. Think that it grows on trees.
Yeah.
Or that it just comes off of your clothes and you can just pay for stuff. That doesn't happen. And their financial future could be a 180 from what their parents were, being, making poor decisions where their parents were making smart ones. And then vice versa, right? You got folks who grow up in wealthy communities and wealthy households who make smart decisions, and they grow on in their own lives to do the same thing, to build on that even more. And so I think that the bottom line or the moral of that story is no matter what your childhood or adolescence might have been, those early money memories definitely play a role in how we think about money. But if you can agree that the path forward, you have the power, the strength to create the money future that you want for yourself, I mean, that's a powerful truth to be able to have inside of you.
100%. Beautifully said. And yeah, that's the good news, right? That you actually get to create, and it really does start with your mindset, right? Regardless of, unfortunate circumstances, if you have the mindset that you want to build wealth and create legacy and really make an impact, like that is totally possible, right? And actually, Gary Vee will actually say that the people who have experienced adversity are much more set up for that type of...
Exactly.
So, I mean, I know for me, like growing up, money was never really talked about, but then also when it was always that, we didn't really have enough, but I didn't necessarily experience lack because my parents always did their best to make sure that me and my siblings had all the experience we wanted to.
Sure.
But I knew that it was like always impacting. And so now, like as I create the business, as we work with the people that we work with, I take that as a strength in really being able to serve other people too. Because there's a lot of, if you look at the stat, right, 78% of people living paycheck to paycheck.
Woof.
So, yeah. If we look at that, like there's a lot of opportunity with the mindset to be created.
And I think mindset is something that requires probably daily attention. It's not something that is just, oh, yep, I got a great money mindset and I'm done.
Yeah.
It requires like a garden, right? Like you've got to pay attention to it. You've got to make sure you pluck out the weeds and that you water it. Yeah. And I think very similarly, like being inspired by folks who are doing well. We talk a lot about like, if you were to see someone pull up in a Ferrari or a sports car at like a red light and you're on the corner, like waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
What's the first thought that pops into your head? Is it positive or negative as you look at that person in the Ferrari?
Yeah.
For a lot of people, their natural instinct is a negative reaction. Yeah. It's like, man, screw that guy. Yeah. What happened? He must have been spoiled brat, daddy's car. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Versus, what about the other mindset where it's like, man, that person must have worked really hard. He or she did things that someone else didn't do in order to put themselves into a position to have that vehicle that very few people have.
Yeah.
And so that mindset shift on how you might even just look at someone like your peers.
Yeah.
When someone gets a new car or gets a new pair of shoes or buys a house or anything.
Or a new suit.
Yeah. To know how that affects your money mindset, I think it's great to be able to always kind of take a moment and reflect and internalize and knowing, hey, there's no pace that you have to be on. There's no feeling like you're behind. Make smart decisions moving forward and be the best you that you can be.
That's awesome. Yeah, and by the way, I think your suit is fantastic. I love it.
Feeling fly.
And if you can't see it, he also has a green money... what do you call it?
Pocket square.
Yeah, pocket square.
Look, we've seen that guy who does the tax tips online. He's got like question marks on his suit and stuff like that. But you know what? When we're money pros and masters of money, we wear our passion on our wrists.
Exactly. Love it. Last thing I want to leave you with, just to reiterate the power of language. The biggest thing for me when in terms of like shifting money mindset was a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which we have done a book review on. But the question between the poor and the rich is, or the poor will say, we can't afford this. And the rich will say, how can we afford this?
It's a great shift.
Yeah, so as Dimitry was talking about, when you see a guy pulling up in a Ferrari, is the thought positive or negative? Are your thoughts and are your mindset, solution oriented or constraining? So our invitation to you is to really audit the conversations you're having with yourself, to really think about, how money occurs for you, and then also know that you can create the future that you want when it comes to money.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks. We'll see you next time.